Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk. All right, it's about 6:59 right now, so I'm going to give people a few minutes to come in and join our show. Today, we got some awesome topics to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and invite some more people in. All right, I'm going to invite some more people to come on and take part in this. Give them a couple minutes. You know, sometimes, we run a little bit behind with what's coming on. So I want to make sure people have an opportunity to join. We got some great things to talk about. We had a major sporting event last weekend, yesterday, that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fight. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones, because it's not always, super serious. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about what you guys want to talk about. I actually don't have a local guest this week, so I won't be having a local guest this week, but we'll have AC Riley next week. There's a miscommunication there, and we're going to make sure we bring him in. Are live. Come on in. Please, thank you. Hey, Toy, I see you. My wife, #1 supporter. I appreciate you, girl. You are mad dope. Mad dope. So, I guess because I don't have a local guest this week, maybe I could do some audience videos. I have some people who are audience members come in and take part. If you're interested in doing so, let me know so I can bring you in. Let's see if I can tag some people into the video. Tag is ReZsaun. We have several things we're going to talk about today, but I don't want to talk to myself, so I'm going to wait like 2 more minutes. If you give me like 2 minutes, stick around. Of course, I edit this stuff here out when I put it on my YouTube channel, Real Talk with ReZsaun, on YouTube as well. I should be activated right now. Let me see. Invite the homie Justin, Tiara. There she goes. All right, cool. So I'm gonna invite a few people. Hopefully, more people will join us as we go along. And if you would please share this video, maybe we can get some more people on watching as well. What's up? Hey, Ashlyn, what's up, girl? We're gonna have a good show today, man. I'm excited. I've been looking some stuff up that we can talk about. Of course, when we talk about different things, I'm always interested in you guys' take and what's going on. So please come in as you as you guys get in here. We're gonna get started. So, welcome to Real Talk with ReZsaun. I am your host. What up, Moan? I am your host, ReZsaun Lewis. This is Real Talk with ReZsaun, where nothing's off limits. I'm your host, ReZsaun Lewis. Here on Real Talk, everything is debatable. So on any given week, we could be discussing anything from music to sports to politics. So you name it, we'll discuss it. I want to apologize for last week. I wasn't able to do the show. We had a family situation that pulled me out of the house, so I wasn't able to do the show. But I definitely want to make sure that I keep the show going weekly, and so we can continue to build the audience and people can, chime in and feel welcome here and get used to every Sunday night at 7 o'clock getting started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the show. There's several things to talk about. There's so many things that's happening this week that happened last week that we can talk about. First of all, I want to start this video off by sending my prayers, my genuine concern, and my heart out to the people in Texas who are dealing with Hurricane Harvey right now. We are praying for you. We see you here in South Carolina. You know, we went through hurricanes, you know, several times, you know, major hurricanes, and we know the damage and the toll that it can take on your city and on your state. So we're praying for you, definitely. I just want to go ahead and I want to start my video off by saying that. I have a couple homeboys, Kenny and Xavier, and they live in the Houston, San Antonio area. So I want to definitely send a shout out to them and let you guys know that we are praying for you here in South Carolina and across the nation. All right, so if y'all need anything, please, 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 you know, send me a message. If I can send you a care package or something, let me know, because we want to definitely show that support to you guys. All right, we are praying for you. All right, what's happening, everybody? Okay, I see y'all. We got 8 people. I'm feeling kind of famous. You know, 8 people is a lot for me. This is I'm getting used to this. Last night we had the major fight, right? The big build-up. Mayweather versus McGregor, right? Mayweather versus McGregor. That was supposed to be, you know, the fight of the century. Greatest fight of all time. Like, okay, cool. Whatever. So I'm going to start where I felt originally and then where it got to and then my takes on the fight last night. I started out like this. I did not plan on watching the fight at all, just because I saw it for what it was, which is a farce. If you're talking in terms of anything in life, and you take somebody who's thought of as the greatest in that at least of that generation in that specific thing, and then you take somebody that's never done that professionally and put them against each other, it's not going to be it's not really hard to tell who's going to win that event. Let's take, for example, Roger Federer. Roger Federer is a great tennis player. He's a great tennis player, right? All-time great tennis player. One of the greatest tennis players of all time. But you know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't have him challenge LeBron James in a basketball game. Because LeBron James plays basketball. It's a totally different sport. Much in the way that MMA and boxing are 2 totally different sports. Are there elements of boxing in MMA? Yes. But boxing is not the same thing as MMA. So when you take somebody like a Conor McGregor, who is at the top, one of the people at the top of the game in MMA, if you're just talking name credibility, name recognition, then yeah, I mean, of course, Conor McGregor is going to do great in MMA. If you were to take Floyd Mayweather and throw him into the octagon, he would do terribly. All right, so based on that, I was like, I'm not going to watch it. Got the build up. I will say that the press conferences were mad entertaining. I enjoyed those very, very much. And that's really, I mean, if I could have got tickets to the press conferences, I'd have been good there, because those were mad, like, entertaining. Like, those guys were going all the way in on each other. But it wasn't set up to be a good fight. Like, it wasn't set up to be a good fight, just based on the basic premise of we're going to have one of the greatest boxers ever fighting against a guy who's never boxed professionally. That's just not that's not a good way to do it. But again, like I said, I wasn't gonna watch it. My homeboy Jovan, shout out to Jovan and Tamika. They got the fight and they're like, hey man, come over. We're gonna get the fight. Come on and watch it with us. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll come over and watch it with y'all because it's y'all. It was a social event. It was less about, and I think that's what the fight ended up being for a lot of people. It was just a social event, an opportunity to get together with friends, and get down and watch the fight. So, of course, you have the build up to the fight. All of the undercards were pretty bad. If you ask me, that's one reason that I think boxing is losing, is because the undercards are so bad. You really spend $100 just to watch one fight. MMA, you pretty much can watch every single fight that leads up to the main event, which is not the topic of this discussion. But I wanted to say that because you need to understand why boxing is dwindling and MMA is growing in popularity in a popular society. But so the fight gets started. So we get to the fight, the main event. We have Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, all right? They come to the ring. One thing that annoyed me, I don't know if those who watched the fight saw this, but there was these 2 ring girls, and it seems like their job was to get in the camera, and they were so annoying. Beautiful young ladies. Multicultural. It was awesome. You know, America coming together. Love it. It's awesome. But those 2 girls irked my nerves to all. Like the way they followed the camera, like you could literally see them pushing people out of the way so they could just be seen in the shot. That annoyed me. That took away from me being able to focus on the big fight that was about to come. Anyway, so the fight gets started. So we get to, past the national anthem. Demi Lovato, in my opinion, did a neat job. I think she tried to over-sing a little bit. Her vibrato was a little unbearable in many cases. But I think she did a good job with it. I enjoyed that. So then we get to the fighting. All right? We get to the part where they're supposed to fight. You have the referee. The referee gives the longest speech I've ever heard a referee give in my life before a fight. I've watched boxing since I was a little kid. And never in my life do I remember a referee giving a speech that long. And pretty much only talking to Conor. Like, he wasn't even talking to Floyd. It was like, I'm not coming out here. I'm not here to separate y'all. And so if I say stop, then you need to stop because I said and da-da-da. It was like, no, like, dude, just tell them to touch gloves. Let them go to their corners. All right. You already talked to them behind the scenes, I'm sure. You don't need to give them the whole granddaddy speech in the middle right before they fight. Like, that's just dumb. Anyway, so they touch up gloves. They go to their corners. They start fighting. The fight was actually far better than I thought it would have been. And I think that was by design. I think the fight was better than I thought it would have been by design. What do I mean by design? Floyd Mayweather threw 9 punches in the first 3 rounds. He threw 9 punches in the first 3 rounds. All right? 9. That tells you that he was trying to let it build up some. Right? He let it build up some. He was holding his guard up, and he's doing this thing here, and he's not really punching. He's just guarding his face and making sure he doesn't get knocked out in the first 3 rounds. That was like his goal, was to figure out, what Conor was working with. During that time, Conor let off a few times, but he wasn't really hurting Floyd. He wasn't hurting him at all. He was hitting him on the gloves. He caught him one time with a counter punch, a counter hook underneath the chin, which was pretty interesting considering, where he comes from. But you would expect somebody who has elements of boxing and what they do in their style. But there are also clear indications that Conor McGregor was way out of his element from the beginning. One, Conor McGregor kept trying to grab Floyd Mayweather by the back of his head and hammer him on the head like that. That's not a sanctioned boxing move. In boxing, you can only hit somebody with the front of your glove. You can't hit them with the side of your glove. You can't hit them in the back of your glove. You also can't hit them in the back of their head, which Conor McGregor tried to do several times. So during those first 3 rounds, that's what was happening. All right? Around the 4th round, Floyd is pretty much like, okay, playtime's over. Let's start cooking. Because several things that he knew. The first thing that he knew was that in MMA, they only fight 5 rounds. So after 5 rounds, Conor McGregor was going to start losing. Yeah, he did, Lucretia. He wanted the MMA so bad. You're right. After 5 rounds, the MMA fight is over. And that's in a championship fight. So if it's a regular fight, there's only 3 rounds. If it's 3 rounds. If it's a championship fight, then there's 5 rounds. And then they go to the cards after that. In boxing, it's 12 rounds. It's much more stamina. Now, mind you, in MMA, rounds are 5 minutes, and in boxing, rounds are 3 minutes. So that you have to also consider those things when you're talking about this whole stamina thing. Floyd knew these first 3 rounds, Conor's going to be coming out and trying to punch. He's going to be trying to knock me out. That's what he's going to come out to do. He's going to try to knock me out. He's going to try to throw me off my guard. He's going to try to knock me out. So Floyd covered up. He threw 9 punches in the first 3 rounds. From the 4th round to the 10th round, when the fight ended, Floyd threw 149 punches. He connected with 149 punches. Okay? So those were like, well, Conor held his own against the top fighter in the world. Floyd didn't fight his fight. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But he threw 9 punches in the rounds that Conor won. He threw 9. All right? So those rounds to me don't even count. Most people who judge boxing, who actually really judge boxing, like look at boxing, only gave Conor McGregor those first 3 rounds. After the first 3 rounds, round 4 could have went either way, and every round after that was Floyd. Every single one, because Floyd actually started fighting. Of course, when Floyd's not fighting, then Conor McGregor's going to win those rounds. That just makes sense. That's not logical to expect that Conor McGregor would win rounds in which Floyd is actually deciding to box. Another thing was that shocked me, which made the fight better, was for the first time in forever, Floyd came out to fight. Like, he came to fight. Floyd didn't come to shoulder roll you, shoulder roll, shoulder roll, shoulder roll. If you've ever watched a Floyd fight, you know Floyd fights aren't interesting. You know why? Because Floyd shoulder roll, shoulder roll, shoulder roll, block, 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 counter punch, counter punch. Like, that's how Floyd fights. But Floyd was coming in, he was getting inside of Conor McGregor's reach and trying to really put it on him, like really trying to knock him out. And I was really surprised by that. And I think that's one of the things that wore Conor McGregor down, that and the time. But definitely, it was a great fight. I think it was very entertaining in the way that it went down. Conor McGregor definitely deserves hats off to him because he did hold his own. But I will say this: that dude does not like. I don't think he would have got knocked down. Like, he didn't seem like he wanted to get knocked down or out. Like, he's got a crazy chin. Like, he took some punches that I'm sure many people would not have survived. Like, he took some real hits. So shout out to Conor McGregor for taking those hits and staying standing. Shout out to our ref, because Conor McGregor not being willing to fall down meant that he would have really suffered much more brain damage, because by the 10th round, Conor McGregor can put his hands up to guard his face. So he was just hitting him. And once you get to that place, you got to stop the fight, or it's going to become a situation where brain damage is going to be very, very likely. So I enjoyed the fight. It was definitely worth. I guess it was worth. I mean, to those who paid for it, I don't see anybody who paid for it, complaining about it. So shout out to them. Shout out to Floyd Mayweather for continuing his career. And finishing 50-0. 50-0. That's amazing. He finished his entire career undefeated. I saw somebody made a post earlier about the fact that Floyd's not the only fighter to ever go 50-0, and that's true. Julio Cesar Chavez went 87-0 before he had a draw, and then he lost 6 fights before he stopped fighting. But I think Julio Cesar Chavez also started much earlier, much younger than Floyd did. He fought more fights per year than Floyd did, and I think he retired at 31. Floyd Mayweather is 40 years old. So shout out to Money Mayweather. I'm not a major Floyd Mayweather fan, just because when you start talking about domestic violence and stuff like that, I'm not a big fan of that stuff. But if you're just separating the art from the man, shout out to him for what he's doing now. I hope that he takes the time that he has, extra time, to really get himself together and make sure that he's not he doesn't fall off, because a lot of these athletes, they stop doing sports and then they lose their minds and they don't know what to do with themselves. So I'm hoping he finds a positive way to channel his energy now that his boxing career is officially over. Finish on top. Seinfeld. Another thing I want to talk about, all right? Game of Thrones, right? Like I told you, every week is not going to be a serious, heartbreaking event. Sometimes I just want to have fun and talk about stuff that I care about. And one thing that I care about is Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones. Where my Game of Thrones nights are at, all right? Who's House of Targaryen? Who's House of Stark? Who's House of Lannister? All right, we got all these different houses out here. We see that the House of Tyrell is now falling. That's not coming back. We lost. This is my first time talking about it, so we can't really do a recap. But we can definitely talk about the people that we've lost over the years. My true Game of Thrones fans. If you don't watch Game of Thrones, you need to get your life together. Okay, I just want to say that to those of you who may not watch Game of Thrones. You need to get your life together. Seek Jesus. He still saves. He's still here for you. But you have to seek redemption by going to HBO Go or something and getting on your Game of Thrones. Yo, it's real. All right. When I first started watching Game of Thrones, I watched the first episode of season 1, and I was like, I hate this. This is dumb. I don't want to watch it anymore. So I stopped watching, and then a year later, I was at college. I was at college in Charleston, and someone was like, "Hey, do you watch Game of Thrones?" I was like, "Nah, I tried an episode. I didn't like it." They're like, "No, it starts out slow, but it picks up." I don't know if your life's together, Lucretia. I don't know if your life's together. You told me you don't watch Game of Thrones. Do better. She's like, "Try it again. Give it time. It's gonna get a lot better." And it did. It got so much better. It is a ridiculous TV show. So recap. We got the Game of Thrones finale to coming tonight. We got the Night King. He's marching towards the wall. We don't now. He got a dragon. Where did these people get the chains for this dragon to pull the dragon out of the water? I don't know, but apparently the White Walkers got that too. I'm wondering now what all things they do have. They might have all kinds of like bow and arrows. They might have a tank. We don't know what they have, but I'm interested in finding out because these guys are very serious. These guys are very serious. These White Walkers. So, you got Daenerys Targaryen working with Jon Stark. Looks like they're falling in love, but we know from the flashback that they're related. So they can't fall in love unless they're trying to have some Lannister situations going on. No spoilers. All right. We talked about spoiling stuff. I'm trying not to spoil stuff for people. But Moan, you need to watch this season, dude. You need to watch this season. Yo, I'm telling you, Lucretia, you gotta watch it. It's dope. It's dope. You gotta watch it, man. Like it's dope. All right. So check it out. Check out Game of Thrones. Thank me later. All right. They're in season 7 now, I think, and there's only one more season left. And my heart's gonna break when it's over. Like my heart is going to break when Game of Thrones ends and it's not there anymore. So tonight, season finale. So a lot of things can happen. I'm excited. I'm wondering, is the dragon going to come into play tonight, or is it going to come in later? What's going on? Like, what's going on? What's going on with the Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen alliance? What's going on with that? So there's so many things that I'm considering, but about what could happen. I don't want to stay there too long because, like you said, you do get into spoiler mode, and I don't want to spoil nothing for nobody. But if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you need to get your life together and seek Jesus. I believe in you. I believe it. I have faith that you will come to the light and you will no longer be in the darkness that is not knowing about Game of Thrones. Relationships. All right, I'm going to transition to relationships. One thing that I'm very passionate about in my life is relationships, and the role of my relationship on my life. The one thing I always talk about, you'll hear me talk about frequently, is my marriage. And because I normally talk about my marriage, I'm always looking for ways to better my marriage. And so one of the things today I put a post up about what are things that you guys would like to talk about. And there were a few things that were brought up, and I think they're all really good topics. Last week we spoke about communication, about being a better building communication in your relationship. This week we're going to talk about building trust. And I found an article. Like I told you, I always like to look for articles because ReZsaun is smart, but there are people far smarter than me that have already written articles and the such that will be able to enrich and add to you guys' situation. So I wanted to post. I posted the article right there. It's called 10 Ways to Build Trust in a Relationship. And I'm going to go through these things and I'm sort of going to relate them back to me and to how I deal with these things and things I feel about it. And feel free if you have comments. Again, I always welcome comments from people who are interested in talking about these things. Let me go ahead and let the audience know that we're on the relationship segment for those who are interested. Oh no. All right, I didn't mean to do that. Share. Don't leave. I'm about to get into the relationship segment. I just want to tell everybody that we are in the relationship segment. Building trust. All right, cool. So we were talking about building trust in a relationship. All right, I posted a link to the article. Please feel free to check it out as a reference after I'm done. But don't go check it out now because I'm still talking. But anyway, so building trust in a relationship. All right, now in a relationship, it's key to have trust. It's really hard to love somebody that you don't trust. And once trust is broken, it's really hard to get back. So one thing I want to focus on this week is building trust in relationships. So I found an article about 10 ways to build trust in a relationship. All right, and as I go through, like I said, I'm going to relate it back to my life, and I want you guys to feel free to leave comments. Way number 1, earn it. You got to earn somebody's trust, all right? You cannot assume that trust exists, and you must always be working to earn trust, all right? We never know, especially, and I can tell you, sometimes people aren't good communicators, and you may do something that breaks somebody's trust that you don't even realize you did. So you should always be working to earn the trust of your spouse, or the person that you say you love. It says when we stop taking trust, when we stop taking trust for granted and make it a priority, we'll be conscious of our actions and perceptions of those to our partner. That's key. All right, you must earn trust. Do not just assume that because somebody is in a relationship with you that they trust you, or that you trust, or that like that you should. But you should also always be working to earn that trust. And we're talking about work. And one of the things we're talking about is ways to earn that trust. One way to earn trust is to keep your promises. If you say you're gonna do something, do it. All right, that's in anything. That's at your job. That's at that's with your children. That's but of course we're talking in the confines of a marriage, a relationship. And again, when I talk about relationships, I'm not talking about cut buddies. I'm not talking about friends with benefits. I'm talking about actual relationships, like heading toward marriage. Like that's when I talk about relationships. That's what I'm talking about, or marriage in and of itself. All right, keep your promises. All right. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. The quickest way to lose trust with somebody is to tell somebody you're going to do something and not do it. If I tell my wife I'm going to go outside and cut, like today, I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to change the tire, I'm going to cut the grass. I laid in the bed pretty much all day. But when I got up, you know what I did? I went outside, I cut the grass, and I changed the tire. Because that's what I said I'd do. I kept my promise. And that's key to do. You want to make sure you keep your promises. That's key. Very important. All right? If you're late, if you promise that you'll be home by a certain time, be home by that certain time. One thing that I have problems with is, when it comes to keeping promises, is that I do a lot. I have a lot on my schedule. And I promise my wife that I'm trying to work on being home more and being more active in the home with the stuff that's going on here. So that's a promise that I'm working to keep. Again, just like I tell you the things that I'm good at, I will tell you the things that I struggle with, because it's important that you also know your strengths and your weaknesses so that you can work on them. But if you never acknowledge your weaknesses, then it's really hard for anybody to, it's really hard. All right, I see your eyeballs, girl. It's really hard for people to really believe that you're authentic, and I strive to be authentic. The second thing, keep secrets. All right, keep secrets. If somebody tells you something in confidence, don't go blabbing to somebody else, especially if your spouse tells you something. Like, I know y'all got homegirls and dudes, y'all got best friends or whoever you got, but if your spouse tells you something in confidence, there is absolutely no excuse for you to share that with somebody else. Like that's not cool. Like, you cannot do that. It's hard to trust somebody who I can't even tell my truth to. All right? That's key. If they tell something, especially if they make a point of it to say, this is between you and me, that should be as far as it goes. All right? Nobody will ever trust you if every time they tell you something, it ends up on Facebook or it ends up in somebody else's ear. Because that's just a terrible trait to have as a person. All right? Oh yeah, absolutely hysterical. Make sure that you definitely, if somebody reveals something to you in confidence, then you keep that confidence, because that's what they have. Definitely. Let's see. Communicate openly and in person. You want to talk directly to, communicate openly and in person. I'm going to read what it says. Make it a rule that most communication, especially important subject matters, happen in person. Yes, the true meaning of a message can get lost via text, email, and sometimes even on the phone. Make sure you both are heard and understood by talking face to face. If there is a serious issue that you are dealing with, especially if there's some kind of conflict, disengage from textual conversation. Disengage from textual conversation, because so many misunderstandings can be had from somebody just simply misreading what you said based on the context that they provide to it, the way they read it. And you may be saying, something pretty simple, and then they see it as something really inflammatory and something that can really make or break your relationship. So you don't want that. It's in conflict situations especially, please make a point of it to either say, let's continue this later because it's going left, or let's pick up the phone, let's call each other, or let's just wait till we see each other and we can talk then. But it's so much bad that can happen from that. Okay, don't argue via text. Great point, Sheldon. And Lucretia, text has no emotions. Absolutely. So yeah, if you have something serious to talk about it in person. Do not waste your time and energy arguing via text. It's sort of useless. Don't judge, right? You might not understand why something is important to your partner, but the fact that it's important is all that matters. Before you can trust, you must respect each other and your differences without judgment. I'm going to say that again. You might not understand why something is important to your partner, but the fact is that they think it's important. All right? If I come to you with something that you think is trivial, right, but it's a big deal to me, and you make it sound trivial, I'm not going to bring anything else to you. I don't trust you enough to communicate with you now. All right? You can't make a judgment like this is stupid. I know sometimes things don't seem like the most important thing. Let's say, for example, your husband loves playing NBA 2K. And it's a big deal because he lost the game. And he like, baby, the game cheating. And you like, that's stupid. Why are you talking to me about this? Well, you never know. That may be a serious thing. He may have had $100 in that game that he just lost. And he's really hurt about it. And you don't realize that. But because you trivialize it, the next time he has something that was pretty major to him, he probably won't talk to you. He probably won't bring it to you. And I mean, also, a lot of times, to be honest, when it comes to communication and building trust in communication, sometimes you don't realize how important something is to somebody. There are times when my wife was talking to me about things about interior design, and I don't know what she's talking about. And because I don't know what she's talking about, it's hard for me to really take it as seriously as it probably is. So I have to realize that though I don't understand what she's saying is important to her. So I have to at least make it important to me for the time being until I find out more. Fake it until you make it if you have to sometimes. But do not make your spouse feel like what they're saying to you is not important. That's another way to not build trust. So make sure that you value what they're saying. Become vulnerable. All right? Be real with your partner. And we've talked about this in the weeks past about effective communication and being able to speak to your spouse. Being vulnerable, all right? Be real with your partner, and that means sharing things that you often keep hidden. The ultimate sign of trust is living your truth, and by doing so, your partner will be more comfortable with living theirs. I've said this every single week since I've started this show. Somebody who does not know you cannot love you. Someone who does not know you cannot trust you, because I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you've been through. But if I make myself vulnerable to you, that one shows you that I have that trust. You ever been to a work retreat thing and they do that trust fall? Well, that trust fall, why they do that is so you're saying, I trust you enough that I know if I close my eyes and just fall backwards, you will catch me. When you become vulnerable to somebody, you're saying, I trust you enough that I'm willing to open myself up to you and know that you won't judge me. You won't share that information with anybody else. That you won't mistreat the information that I'm giving you. Now, again, is this for everybody? Everybody you date? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you're in a place in a relationship where you're looking towards marriage, real life stuff, then these are things that we should be doing to build that trust in relationship. But becoming vulnerable, definitely. My wife will tell you, I will ask questions that I really don't want to hear the answers to. But I need to hear the answers so that I can understand her better. And I can't be a great husband if I don't know her. You can't please somebody when you don't know what actually pleases them. So that's a key point. Be forgiving. And I know there's a lot of them. There's 10 of them, so don't worry. Be forgiving. Trusting doesn't mean mistakes won't happen. And when they do, be forgiving. Be forgiving. That is something that we all struggle with, is forgiveness. That's a basic, fundamental element of Christianity. And us Christians struggle with being forgiving. Because people will make mistakes. But when you have trust in a relationship, when I make a mistake, I will trust you enough to say, hey, I made a mistake. I will come to you and say, hey, I made a mistake. You have to be trusting enough to be able to say that. Make yourself vulnerable and say, I made a mistake. All right? But when that happens, you have to be willing to say, okay, you made a mistake. What's the mistake? How deep is the mistake? All right? And if you decide to move past that mistake in a relationship, then you have to be forgiving. You can't say, okay, we're going to move on and then hold them accountable to that mistake every time y'all talk about it. You know? Like, case in point, I'm going to break it down a very elementary level. If I go to the grocery store and I forget to get the Roger Wood sausages for the pork and beans, right? And I get something else. Well, the next time I go to the store, you know, I mean, you can't, you can't be like, oh, well, don't forget the Roger Wood sausages, because you know you always forget the Roger Wood sausages. Well, you know, I made a mistake that one time. All right? I made that mistake, you know, and you forgave me for making that mistake. And every time since then, because I made that mistake, I'm going to remember Roger Wood sausage, Roger Wood sausage, Roger Wood sausage. And if I don't, then, you know, then that's when you say, hey, baby, we talked about this. You know, you said you wouldn't forget it. You know? Now, let's talk on a larger level, because we have to talk on a larger level. If the mistake becomes something like infidelity, or something that's a make or break kind of thing, like for me, infidelity is one of my major things that I don't really get down with at all. Abuse, infidelity, and lying. I don't like liars. But if it's one of those things, if you decide to forgive that person, if your spouse cheats on you, and you decide to forgive your spouse, then you've decided to forgive your spouse. You can't continue, like if you forgive them, you forgave them, and that's over, right? That has to be over at that point, because when you hold on to that grudge, you can't move forward. All right? It's like flying. The more weight you have on you, the harder it is to go higher. You got, like, if you decide to hold on to that relationship and you decide, you know, what happened is not worth our relationship, then it can't be worth the relationship. You got to be able to move past it and grow together. So yeah, that's hard for us to do a lot of times. You know, I myself struggle with it, but you know, hey, it is what it is. If we want to build trust, these are the things we need to be doing. Work on your personal growth. All right, we are better people and better in our relationships when we take the time to work on our personal growth. I gotta work on me all the time. That's why I'm always finding these articles. That's why I'm always trying to do something. That's why you see me out here in these streets. Because truth is, if I wasn't out here in these streets doing something positive, it's very possible I'd be out here in these streets doing something negative. And I don't be doing nothing negative. You know, I'd rather upbuild than tear down. So always be working on your personal growth. That's a way to build trust. When your spouse sees you out here doing positive things, they tend to have more trust in what you're doing. And they want to do the next thing, which is be supportive. If you're supportive of your spouse, they will trust you a lot of times. Right? You know? Now, if your spouse is selling crack, we probably shouldn't be supportive of that. Maybe we should help them work on their personal growth so they can get out of the crack game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here advocating for, you know, people married to crack dealers, you know, being supportive of their crack sales. You know, like, by all means, like, let's get them out the game. Like, hey, baby, you know, I know, you know, this is what you're doing for us, and I appreciate that, and I support you. But I want you to do it in a way that, you know, allows us, our family, to, like, not have to worry about you doing 30 years in a maximum security prison. You know what I mean? Like, be supportive, but, well, at the same time, be smart. All right? And the last thing I want to say is disagree in private. In private. People think that me and my wife never ever argue. This is a true story. Like, people think that me and Toya never have a disagreement, and we never go through anything. But the one thing that I pride our relationship on is the fact that any disagreements we have in the house. because in these streets, man, people don't care about you. In these streets, people don't care about you. Like, they don't care about your relationship, you know? So when they see a crack, any kind of crack, it can be something as small as anything, as small, you know, very, very small. And they will use that, and they try to use it to tear apart your relationship. But when you find a way to disagree in private, you take that and you keep that in-house, then you're building that trust where it's like, look, I'm not going to embarrass you in public. Now, we may disagree fundamentally, completely on this thing, but I'm going to make sure I trust you enough and I love you enough that I'm going to allow you the opportunity to express yourself and not feel embarrassed or called out in front of people. You know, we talk about that petty thing, team petty. You know, being petty with your spouse isn't great. It's not awesome. You know, your spouse should be able to trust you to at least have their best interests at heart when it comes to at least public. You know, in the public, you got to be a unified front, man. Because if you're not a unified front in the public, I promise you, somebody's scheming on your relationship. There's somebody out there trying to tear you apart. Somebody out there that the devil sent to seek, kill, and destroy your marriage, to seek, kill, and destroy your relationship. And when you disagree in public, that's just another way that they have to sneak in and tear apart what God has given you. So make sure that, you know, if you can, if at all possible, please, like, find a way to take any disagreements that you have to a private place that you could talk about it, and that would be a way to build trust. So that was 10 ways to build trust, man. I'm not going to go over all 10 of them again because it was 10 of them. That was a lot, and I don't want to do that again. But please, that article, I posted it inside the website. I'll post it again so you guys can see it, because it's a great article. It's just, you know, the key points of what I talked about in the video. But I want you guys to check that out because it's important. It's so important that we can always work on our relationships. Happy marriages are worth it. Happy relationships are worth it. Sound mind is worth it. Peace of mind is worth it. All right, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. That's really, you know, what I can say. What up, man? You late, bruh. So I had one more segment I wanted to do, and it's sort of deep in a way. I mean, I'm not like the overly deep person, but it's about society and how we view people of color in our country. All right. So the topic of this one is too black and not black enough. All right. I want to talk about, what does it mean to be black? What does it mean to be black? All right. This is my heavy discussion for today. What does it mean to be black? What does it mean to you to be black? All right. If you look up blackness in the dictionary, right? Let's do that. Let's do it right now. Let's look up black. Just the word black in the dictionary. If you've ever done this, it's interesting what comes up. But I'm going to Google it right now. Black. Right? So black, of the very darkest color, owing to the absence and complete absorption of light, the opposite of white. Black is black scientifically is the absence of color, whereas white is the composition of every color. All right, that's just the definition. Now, it also says that black is of any human group having dark colored skin, especially of African or Australian Aboriginal ancestry. That's the textbook definition of black. Right? Now I'm going to put in black people, because this is what we're talking about, right? Now, actually, so what's funny is when I Google black people, the second thing that comes up is something called the Black People Song. Now, I've never looked at that, but what I do see in the picture is a picture of a black man, a watermelon, and a piece of chicken. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like that song. All right? I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like that song. So I'm not going to listen to that song because I don't want to get upset. All right? But blackness. What is blackness to you? What does that mean? What does it mean to you to be black? To me, being black means that, you know, my ancestors came from the African continent. That's what my skin tells me, if nothing else does. You know, it either have certain facial features. Maybe it's a nose, maybe it's lips, maybe, you know, eyes. It's different, you know, things that that people automatically assume with blackness. But beyond that, let's talk about black characteristics, right? And again, this is interesting. These are things that I find so interesting. Black characteristics. Yes, to be strong, definitely. Being strong, I consider that to be a black characteristic. Now, does that mean that I think the people who are not black are not strong? No. But I definitely, I view black people as strong people, considering that black people came through the worst form of slavery in the history of mankind. The history of mankind, and still found a way to thrive in a country that never wanted them there in the first place, outside of labor. That's strength, right? But that's not what people, when people talk about black characteristics, let's see, they talk about, you know, blacks are thugs, blacks are ghetto, blacks are, we don't speak well, blacks are, we dress a certain way, we act a certain way, you know. These are characteristics that people attribute to blacks. My daughter goes to school, and somebody told my daughter, "Oh, you're the whitest black person I know." What did that mean? And that's what I told her to ask her friend was, what does that mean? When you say that I'm the whitest black person you know, what are you saying? What are you saying to me? Because if what you're saying is that I speak well, so that makes me white, so you mean that only people that speak well are white people? No. That's not true at all. Are you saying that being educated, if I'm overly educated, oh, he's an uppity Negro, or he wants to be white? No. He wants to be educated. A black man who is educated. And I want to raise black children who are educated. Because that's what's important. Being smart. Oh, you smart. You trying to be white. Oh, look how you dress. You dress like you white. Why do you talk like a white girl? Right, Lucretia? Why do you talk like a white girl? What does that mean? We have to look at the things that we're putting on ourselves. And what's crazy is that we've accepted so many of the negative stereotypes that people have projected onto us. We expect ourselves to be ghetto. We expect ourselves to be borrowers and not lenders. We expect ourselves to be prisoners and not policemen. Right? Like, we expect these things of our own people. We expect these things of our children. Think about that. Think about being not black enough. President Barack Obama was not black enough for some people. Mind you, he's the only black president we've ever had, and there's people who's like, he's not black enough. Or what do you want this man to do? What would make him more black to you? And I promise you, the things that you would say you would want them to do to make them more black are not things that are actually characteristics of black people at all. But instead, it's characteristics of the negative stereotypes that have been broadcast on the black people over hundreds of years. And you as a black person accept it. I had a friend. He didn't start out as my friend. I was a basic trainer. If y'all don't know, I was in the Army for 6.5 years. And when I was in the Army, I met a guy when I was a basic trainer. His name was Scott Rauch. I don't know if Scott Rauch is out there, man, but if you are out there in this Facebook world, you need to find me, homie. He was from Utah. And he told me straight up, my hand to God. He said, I've never met a black person before. He said, I've never met a black person before. Every black person I've ever seen in my life has been on TV. So they've been either on a football field, a baseball field, a basketball field, or They or so that's where you went. I don't know you going. Baseball field, basketball field, football field, rap video, or a movie like Menace to Society, or something like that. So his impression of all black people when he met me was that all black people were ghetto. We all carried guns. We all wore our pants below our butt. We all speak improper English. We all were a certain type of way that was represented on TV. That was his understanding of black people. And I was like, no, dude. Like, nah. Like, I'm a black person. And I listen to more than rap music. And I read. And I speak pretty well. And I have goals. And I'm going to be somebody one day. And over time, we built a friendship. We built a friendship because what would happen is I would expose him to black culture. Like, literally, now we're in basic training, so we didn't have computers or nothing like that. But we just talk about it. We talk about movies. We talk about music. He exposed me to some stuff that I didn't know. Like, he was really into this group called ReZsaun, which apparently they're a German group. He really loved them. And he exposed me to that stuff, some stuff that I didn't know about, you know. But if I would have lived up to that stereotype, I would have proven him right. At least in his mind. Because they're like, okay, I met a black person and he's exactly like people say they are. We got to look at the things that we're projecting onto ourselves and onto the people around us. All right? You know, like, being not black enough. Like, what is that? What does that mean? Like we got to stop doing that to each other. Like, we all have different ways. Black is beautiful. There's so many different shades of black. Black people. There's so many shades of us. We have so many diverse qualities. We have so many diverse capabilities. So many diverse talents. We are not one thing. There's a grand diaspora of black people that is out there. We are not a monolith. There's no one key characteristic that describes all black people. There's not. There's not. And when you do that, you do more damage to our people than the KKK does. You do. You do more damage than neo-Nazis do. You do. Look at the way you're describing people. You know? Look at the way the things that you're projecting into the atmosphere. And do better. You know? I love all my people. You know, black people. I love all white people too. You know, I love white people. I love everybody. You know, but my black people, man, like, y'all got a special place in my heart. Like, y'all do, man. Because we know our struggle. We know what our people have been through. We know what it took. We may have not have lived through it, but we know what our forefathers went through to get here. Imagine the families of our ancestors back in you know, hundreds of years ago on a slave plantation. They're on a slave plantation and they're just working. You know, they're slaving their life away. Do you think if they would imagine, oh, well, 300 years from now, I'm gonna have my two our grandchildren's grandchildren calling each other nigger? You know, we're gonna have them killing each other, having them projecting these things because of the same, like, because of things that people, because of the things that the masses were telling us that we were 300 years ago. We got to do better. We can do better. You know, and that's for my black people. You know, my white people who are watching this, I appreciate you too. You know, I don't want you calling us nigger either, just for the record. But seriously, like, I believe, and I talked about this last week, but I really do believe in our country. I believe in our people. I believe that we've been through so much as a country, as a nation, as a race, and we'll only grow together. We got to uplift one another. If you see another black person doing bad, don't talk bad about them. Don't tear them down. Try to help them find a way out. You know, especially our young people. That's a whole nother subject for another day. But especially our young people. Pray for our young people. They're experiencing things and they're going through things that we never could have imagined going through at that age that they're going through it in. You know, things are rampant. Things are rampant. Things are out in the open that were way behind closed doors when we were younger. Pray for our youth. And if you see a youth that's not doing well, pick them up. Pick them up. Give them game. Yeah, baby. Give them tools to succeed. All right? I guess that's my parting shot for tonight. If you see somebody not doing well, you know, black person, white person, Hispanic person, Asian person, if you see somebody who's struggling, don't talk bad about them, y'all. Uplift them. Let them know that there's a better way. There's a better way forward and they can do better. Even if you have that crack salesman boyfriend or husband that you're just trying to get them out the game. Like, let them know there's a way better. There's a way better to do it. All right? I'm praying for you guys. I'm praying. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. This is a passion project for me. I love doing this show because it's an opportunity for me to get my thoughts out and to share what I have with the world. I may never write a book. You know, I may never be known nationally, but this will live on. You know, my words will live on through this. And I pray that one day, yeah, definitely. I pray that one day my words touch, reach, and bless somebody. If it's you, then God bless you. And please pray for me as I pray for you. Remember, at the end of the day, if a man doesn't stand for something, he'll fall for anything. And that's real talk. Y'all have a great week. Peace.